Hoje nós estamos aqui com a presença do Alex Osterwalder, autor, empreendedor e business thinker, listado em 4º lugar na lista de Thinkers 50 de estrategistas de gestão em todo o mundo. E ele está conosco hoje para debater um pouco sobre a importância do Customer Experience e que será um dos assuntos mais debatidos no CONAREC 2022. O evento esse ano tem como tema CX Made in Brasil e contará com a presença dele como keynote em setembro desse ano. How do you perceive the development of innovative strategies in CX companies nowadays?
Companies are trying to test and adapt everything they do for customers, right? So sometimes something looks great on paper. We make a PowerPoint and say, this is going to work. This strategy, customer experience, this service, this product. But rather than believing it's going to work, you actually got to be careful. So you ask, okay, what needs to be true for this to work? And you go and start to test this. Conversations with customers about their jobs, pains, and gains and their needs. Then you adapt, So ultimately, what's most important, and we're seeing more and more companies do this, is they don't believe that they're going to get it right immediately. They test and adapt their idea until they figured out the right approach. That's how you develop great customer experiences.
After the pandemic, what was being the main strategy to generate a close and prosperous relationship with the customer?
I think what's interesting with the pandemic, it's been a huge force of disruption. And, when it comes to digital transformation, for example, there's this joke where people ask, who's responsible for, digital transformation to really happen? Is it the chief technology officer? Is it the chief executive officer? Well, the reality is, it was the pandemic that forced us all into becoming a lot more digital. Companies had to adapt and deliver in different ways in more challenging environments. So I think that the huge shift is towards a more multi-channel digital approach, right? So this has become a reality. It has accelerated something that was going to happen anyways, but nobody could escape it. So we are now really faced with a new world where multi-channel is a reality. That goes from, teledentistry to medical support to, your shopping behaviors to conferences, right? So now that we're, slowly back to some kind of normal where we can do physical stuff, it's not back to the world as before. It's towards a more multi-channel world because we've seen that customers can adapt and customers have changed their behavior. So there's a huge shift happening here.
So what is the first step that you believe to be essential to develop a business strategy within companies?
I'm actually going to draw something here to make this more explicit because I wouldn't generalize, business strategy. I'd actually differentiate between two kind of worlds in your company. One I'll call exploit, that's managing the existing. And the other one I'll call explore, that's inventing the future. So here, we have products. Let me just draw, this is a product, and then over here we have ideas. So here it's a more linear process of improving products. Here it's an iterative process of coming up with new ideas, testing and adapting. And when we design a strategy, our strategy should actually cover both. How do I improve the existing, my existing products, my existing services, my existing business models? And the same strategy should cover innovation. Where do I want to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? So the same strategy informs both, which means that the CEO, they need to understand both and maybe spend, 50% of their time managing the existing and 50% of their time inventing the future. So they need to be responsible for innovation. So that's a big thing. When you design strategy, you're designing to manage the existing, you're designing to invent the future, but as a leader, you need to understand, you need to manage both worlds, the present and the future. Many CEOs are completely consumed with creating a strategy to slightly improve the existing. That's not enough anymore. The CEO needs to spend, I'd say, at least 40% of their time on inventing the future. That's the job of the leadership. You can't delegate innovation. Now, that doesn't mean the leaders need to pick the innovations. The leaders need to create the ecosystem for innovators in their company to flourish. So they create this ecosystem where innovation talent can explore ideas, test ideas, adapt ideas, and make them work.
What does it mean to you to be innovative in 2022?
Being innovative means that you become, the academics like to call this the ambidextrous organization. They're world-class at managing the existing and world-class at inventing the future. So it's not either or, it's and. And that's what's crucial. You need to be good at both. And when sometimes when leaders say, everybody needs to be an innovator, I say, no. You need people who run the supply chain. You need people who run the factories. That's okay. They can innovate, but maybe just process innovation. On the other hand, you need a completely different culture, not a better culture, but just a different culture where people invent. So the innovative organization of 2022 and beyond is world-class at doing both, managing the existing and inventing the future. It's like two cultures under the same roof. So your organization needs to host these two cultures, and they have to work together. They have to work together. And my colleague, Steve Blank, likes to say, execution pays the salaries, that's the present, and innovation pays the pension, that's the future. You need both.
Do you believe that the future of business, in your opinion, will be all digital, or are we going to be something like hybrid?
I believe we'll always find the optimal solution for a specific challenge, right? If you are going on a luxury vacation, well, there might be some digital gadgets, but what you really want is a high-end personal service and so on, right? So that's a silly example, but I think it's all very context dependent. So what we will see is just the right approach, the right mix of digital and analog, high-end service and automated for the specific situation that we're facing. And I think the opportunities are infinite. So we'll see just the right mix. Some things will be purely digital. If I want to learn a course, maybe I go to a website and I learn everything by myself. It's only digital. I never meet a human being. On the other hand, maybe I will take a different course for a different topic where I want some digital aspects and I want a personal coach or trainer that supports me in that. So I think we should not think in either this or that, but the right mix for the right situation. And that starts with something very simple. Understand the customer deeply, and you will design the right mix of digital and analog. And what you'll also have to think of to make this profitable is what's the business model supporting this? Because obviously, in many cases, we would just love always high touch analog with a personal, advisor who talks to me. That's very expensive. So the real magic will be the right value propositions with the right business model to make completely new things possible.
We're seeing the beginning of the metaverse. How do you perceive this? So you say that it's all going to be a mix about digital and physical?
For sure. So look, the metaverse is going to be a reality, but me as a customer, in some cases, I'll be happy to go to the metaverse. In some cases, I will say, no, thank you. I want to, see a real human being in a real physical location. So I don't think we can generalize and say it's either or. It will be the right kind of mix in the right kind of situation. And, digital makes things more affordable, but they also make things, a little bit less tangible. Now with the metaverse, we kind of get a little bit closer to, the real world. So maybe we'll see new things emerge. But is that, the one answer? Probably not. I don't see myself, stopping to go hiking in the Swiss mountains like here, because that's a special experience. Until that is possible in the metaverse, I'll still go to the mountains. Is it maybe possible one day to create a different experience that's even more exciting? Well, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see things emerge. And we'll have, the right thing for the right customer needs and tastes. So we're going to see this mix. What we will see is a lot more possibilities. I think that's the thing we need to keep in our mind. there will be a lot more things we can do. And that means for companies, they're going to have to test a lot more what they should do. So there's going to be a whole new world of possibilities, but that makes it even more difficult to design the right thing for the right customer.
If you could predict the future, what would you believe that would be the great technologies for the future in organization thinking within companies?
I can't predict the future, but what you can do is understand what the real challenges are and try to design solutions and test them. So I think, the big challenge for companies today is that they're not yet very good at testing and adapting ideas based on technology. So we don't need to, foresee the future. We don't need to understand how the world is going to look like. What we need to do more of is test and experiment. And not just with technology, that's called research and development. There's a lot of money that's already spent on that. What we need to do is what I call business R&D. We take a technology and ask ourselves, how can we use it? What value proposition? What business model? And we experiment with that. And what's going to happen is that we're going to learn so much from doing that, that we actually will, in the process of experimenting, invent the future. And to a certain extent, that's what companies like Amazon already do today. They experiment all the time, everywhere. They don't know how the future is going to look like, but they can play around, and I'll say play in the sense that they can experiment with new things and make it work. I'll give you a silly example where, Amazon thought they would foresee the future, and they didn't with the Fire phone. So you might remember it was a huge flop. But here's the thing. They learned a lot from that, and ultimately, the same team that came up with this flop figured out how to use some of the technologies there to develop Amazon Alexa. So when you experiment a lot, you learn a lot, and ultimately, you will invent the future based on your failures and the way you change.
So the last question, since you're going to be here for the Kona Hack in September, I want you to know, what are your expectations for the event?
I'm hoping I'm going to meet a lot of extremely curious people who want to create value for customers and want a better process to do so at scale. So that's my hope, and I'm sure that will be the case, because ultimately what I tried to do is bring in some ideas, a little bit of inspiration, but there's enough inspiration out there. What I want, us to be able to do at this event is take these ideas and break them down into something we can bring back to our organizations to create real customer value. So that's my hope, that I'll meet a lot of curious people so we can, work on the future together.